Hello everybody. Let me take this toothpick out of my mouth. Gross. Don't need that in the whole video, do we? So today we are going to review the Suicide Squad. The Suicide Squad, as opposed to the one from, 2016, I think it was, just known as Suicide Squad. So we have a whole new squad with some returning members, obviously, like Harley Quinn, Rick Flag, Captain Boomerang. I don't think there were any other ones that were returning. I think the whole rest of the team was brand spanking new. But I am glad that they've went with the classic Harley design as opposed to the pink and blue. They went with the red and black this time. So kudos to them for doing that, because it made me happy that she was going back to like her roots, I suppose. I guess it's the blue and pink. I didn't mind it, but I definitely like the classic Harley look a hell of a lot better. And I think that kind of shows where her character development, as she kind of like moves away from the Joker, I suppose, because that was kind of the point of her standalone movie, which I would love to see another Harley Quinn movie. I don't know if we're ever going to get one, but Margot Robbie's just fantastic in that role. So yeah, so this movie had a very large cast of people. We obviously have Margot Robbie, Idris Elba, John Cena, Joel Kinnaman, Michael Rooker, Viola Davis, Nathan Fillion, Jai, Flula Borg, I'm going to say is his name, Mei-Ling NG. That's literally her last name is NG. So that's how I'm going to pronounce it. Pete Davidson, Sean Gunn. I don't remember him in the movie, or maybe he was just one of the people at the desk. I'm just going to name like the bigger cast members. Daniela Melchior, I do believe is how you pronounce her name. David Malchian? Oh my god. I hope I'm not butchering that. And Sylvester Stallone played King Shark. So we had King Shark, Polka Dot Man, Ratcatcher 2. Oh my god, who else did we have? Weasel, Blackguard, Mongol, Javelin, Captain Boomerang, TDK, which stands for the Detachable Kid. We had, obviously, Amanda Waller, Savant, Rick Flag, Peacemaker, Bloodsport, and Harley Quinn. And we also had, like, the villain characters, too. So the main villain, I would say, was probably the Thinker, played by Peter Capaldi, or Peter Gabaldi. Capaldi. That's what I'm going to say. And then we had the guys who overthrew the original president, Juan Diego Bato and Joaquin Cosio, played Presidente General Silvio and Mayor General Mateo Suarez. Oh, jeez. It's quite a handful of people that they had as the main cast in this movie. So obviously we know that this new Suicide Squad is getting together. Just from the trailers, I would say we knew kind of what we were getting ourselves into. So this was definitely a much more different approach. I would say, action-wise, it was just action-packed from the very beginning to the end. I would say, compared to the first movie, these characters didn't really need an introduction anymore. We already know what the Suicide Squad's about. So I would say the first movie was definitely more of a kind of introduction to some of the characters. And if you read any of the graphic novels, I wouldn't even really compare the two movies. I would say they're almost like their own standalone movie anyway, despite some of the people returning for the second one, because the Suicide Squad is constantly changing, because as they go along, certain members of the Suicide Squad die, right? So they have to keep recruiting new members constantly. But they do recruit the best of the best criminals, obviously. I guess as far as that goes. So it was kind of more like a competition between some of them as to who could do the most and who could do the best and at killing, I would say. Especially between Peacemaker and Bloodsport, there was always this little bit of competition, and like who was the manliest out of the two of them, and who was most kind of like badass out of the two of them. And oh my god, both of them were like insanely equipped with weaponry. Peacemaker had like an axe. I think he had a sword at one point in the movie. He also had like a blowgun. And Bloodsport had a slingshot. He had insanely advanced weaponry for what he for what you would think they would let him carry, but I guess they let them do whatever their own thing as long as they're out in the field, right? Because they get this little chip injected into their neck, and if they disobey orders, they die, because Amanda Waller will just absolutely kill them without any remorse. And she also tries to control them into entering the Suicide Squad by giving them an ultimatum that they basically can't get out of, because when she tries to recruit Bloodsport at first, she says that she will literally kill his kid if he doesn't join, and she's going to be put in prison, because I guess whatever state they're in, she could be tried as an adult for what she's done, even though all she did was steal something, which seems the criminal justice system is just all messed up with what people get away with and what people have to spend time in jail for. It seems, I mean, I guess theft is still a crime, but compared to some of the stuff that goes on out there, it just seems very minimal, right? But I guess she gets away with her crimes for sure because of who she is and the power she has. So they kind of just let her run with this project in this movie, it seems, and she was an absolute bitch the entire movie. Like I liked her character a little bit. She had a little bit of redemption in the first movie, but this movie, she just sucked. She was an absolute like bitch to just everybody and didn't care who died and who lived. She basically threw the first team onto the beach where they were going, basically as a distraction so the other team could get on. So they're going to the island of Corto Maltese. So we know the two guys the two men who are overthrowing the original government to become the government themselves and try to take over this project called Project Starfish, and the lead person on that is called the Thinker. So he has all these like weird things attached to his head to make his brain work better, I guess. So that way he can process more thoughts, I suppose, at a faster rate and be able to do better work, obviously. That's why they call him the Thinker. So he creates this creature that looks like a starfish, and it kind of looks like it's ejecting babies, is what the one guy described it as, but then he said, no, it's just like a part of itself that it just kind of spits out, and when it attaches to a host body, mostly being humans, it takes the power of that person with it over time, and the starfish starts to become bigger, so it becomes like this ultimate creature. And oh boy, did it ever at the end of the movie. That was insane. But before we get into that, I just want to talk about the first beach scene. So when the first team lands, consisting of Weasel, uh, Captain Boomerang, Harley Quinn, Rick Flag, Javelin, uh, Mongol, I believe was her name, right? Uh, yeah, Blackguard, and who else was on the beach with them? Savant was there, and TDK. So most of them, unfortunately, because thanks to the well, shouldn't say help, but thanks to Blackguard, they were sold out to the military that was already on the beach. So he thinks he can just go out there and with his hands up and say, "Hey guys, we had a deal, blah 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 blah," and then all of a sudden he gets shot, and then that's when things just turn really bad, because I would say pretty everybody dies except for Harley Quinn and Rick Flag, which is just like sucks, because I was thinking Captain Boomerang was going to have a bigger part in this movie, but he didn't even make it off of the beach. Weasel drowns in the very beginning of the movie, and I was like, come on, we don't even get to see his abilities or what he's capable of power-wise, like, really? Savant doesn't do anything, he ends up running away, so obviously Amanda detonates the device in his head and he blows up, and then that's when the second team shows up onto the beach, which obviously consists of Bloodsport, Polka Dot Man, Peacemaker, King Shark, and Ratcatcher. So then we go back to find out how they all got recruited and why she's sending them in over the other team. So I guess she kind of gave Rick Flag the short end of the stick there for sure, because she gave him the bad team and sent Team 2 to the other side of the beach without even telling them that they had sent in other people. Because Bloodsport and Rick Flag actually knew each other. I think they were in the military together, if I'm remembering that part correctly. So they obviously had a connection already once they finally team up together, because they actually think that Rick Flag has been captured, but it turns out that he wasn't. He was actually with the leader of the Freedom Fighters, who was trying to overthrow the government, and they literally wiped all of them out, trying to come in and save Rick Flag. And that was one of the funniest scenes between Peacemaker and Bloodsport, was them having their little competition of who could kill the most men. It was just absolutely hilarious. And then when they finally make it to the tent and Rick's just sitting there having tea, they're like, well, I didn't see anybody. And then when they go back outside, everybody's just dead. So the leader of the, I guess, resistance, basically, or freedom fighters, sorry, says that she'll help them get to this Project Starfish, and their main mission is to try to destroy the hard drives that have a certain type of data on them, but we don't know what that is yet. So when they finally do end up capturing the Thinker character, they take, obviously they're looking for Project Starfish, so they want to get into the building that the project is in. So when they find out that the Americans actually had involvement in it, it kind of changes their minds as to obviously what they are going to do with the drives. And then all of a sudden, Peacemaker turns sides. So Amanda had him as backup to not let the drive get out there, to show that the Americans had any involvement with Project Starfish, because after the Thinker took it over, they backed away from it, I guess, because they didn't want to say that they had anything to do with it, due to the fact that it was such what is the word I'm looking for? I guess gruesome in nature, just due to the fact of what they had to do to people in order to make the creature better. But yeah, it was the Americans, I think, that did they discover the creature and then they brought it on the ship, and then that's how it started to grow, I think, in the beginning. They brought it onto their spaceship, I believe. So yeah, I believe that's how it all began, and then obviously this guy named the Thinker got a hold of it, and now it's just this huge, massive starfish creature, and it can actually talk through the humans once it's attached. It's like other selves to the humans, like I guess the mini-me's, I'm gonna call them. It attaches to the face, kind of like the alien creature in Alien. That's what it reminded me of a little bit. So they end up having to battle that thing. Not to mention the two guys that are trying to overthrow the government. Harley does get asked to marry one of them when she gets captured, but she kills him because of obviously torturing children, and that was a good scene with Harley. That was probably one of the more action-packed scenes, and she's like just a super badass chick. Like, I still consider her kind of like the female John Wick in these movies. Like, it doesn't seem to matter how many people are in the room. She's just super accurate with her weapons and just absolutely kicks the shit out of everybody. So I think she's slowly becoming my favorite character in the DC universe as far as movies go. Actually, she might just be my favorite character, to be completely honest. She's probably the most kick-ass character, and she's just been in... I think she was even in... She even had a little clip in... Was it Batman vs. Superman? Did she have a little clip in there, too? I can't remember now whether she did or not. Or whether that was in the first Suicide Squad movie. I'd have to go back and watch those again. Anyway, yeah, she's definitely my favorite character in this movie series, for sure. And I kind of had a feeling when she found her two pistols that she was going to end up killing. God, she was going to end up killing General Silvio. Who was the original president beforehand? Oh, I guess it was General Vera was the original president, and then they overthrew him, I think. I'm trying to think. Because I know it was General Silvio that took over, and then when he died, General Suarez took over for him, and he was a little bit more violent, for sure, than Silvio, but Silvio wanted to be like a man of the people, so he wanted to get married to Harley Quinn so that he would have status over anything else, really, because she was kind of, I guess, like an anti-American, like went against the grain sort of thing. It's kind of the way he worded it. So she would be perfect because obviously if he had her by his side, nobody would think that he was working with the Americans, I suppose, was maybe the thing. But I would say that those guys definitely deserved to die in this movie. And one of the jokes that was made between Peacemaker and Bloodsport before he turned was that Peacemaker uses smaller bullets. Turns out he was wrong. He uses the bigger bullets, and Bloodsport was actually able to kill him in the end before he could kill Ratcatcher 2. So I was happy about that, because they actually do have this conversation about her father showing her how to like harness the power of the rats, and unfortunately it looks from like the vision that she had that they showed in like the window of the bus that he ended up dying of a drug overdose. So Bloodsport decides to protect Ratcatcher, so that because yeah, she reminds him of his daughter, who he's also trying to protect from Amanda. So then, the starfish scene was freaking awesome at the end when they finally show the whole thing come out, and it basically latched itself onto the entire army. that is under General Suarez, I believe. Yeah, that's under General Suarez. So he just kind of gives up and lets one basically jump him. And so now the mission is over. They have the hard drive. So Amanda tells them that whatever happens casualty-wise with whatever is going on with Project Starfish, that it doesn't matter to them anymore as long as they have the drive. They should come back home. And they decide that they should all turn around and go the other way. And it looks like right before Amanda touches the button, somebody finally hits her in the back of the head and knocks her out. And I was like, oh my god. I hate to wish this upon anybody in a movie, but if anybody should be dead in this movie, it should have been her. But somehow she made it through. Because honestly, she was probably the most evil person out of anybody in this entire movie, and that includes criminals. So that's saying something. Yeah, I just didn't like her character at all in this movie. I wasn't really a fan of her in the first one because she's just using her power to control people to do whatever she wants them to do, and it's all, not like you're getting not like you're getting out of jail, right? You're stuck in there. You're only taking 10 years off of your massive life sentences. So who knows how many missions you'll have to do, and the chances of you dying are much higher than you living and getting out of jail early. So she doesn't give a shit about you. She's just using you. You're just a number to her, right? So yeah, I would say she's definitely the most evil character in the series. They are able to take down the Starfish, which is actually, it's surprising the way it happened. I didn't think out of all the people that were going to be able to use their powers against it, I thought maybe King Shark or Bloodsport was going to be the one to take it down with his massive gun that he just builds at the end of like seconds. But it turns out it was actually Harley Quinn who jumps with the javelin spear, which she carries through the entire movie, because Javelin in the beginning says, "You're the only one that can carry this for somebody," and she goes, "For who or for what?" She tries to slap him back awake even though he's dead. And so she jumps through the eye of the starfish, pokes through it, and then all the rats climb in through the eye with her and start eating it away at, like, I guess the nerves and like possibly the brain of the creature, and then eventually it just kind of like bleeds out and dies. So they literally ate it from the inside out. And one thing that Bloodsport had was a fear of rats, so that was not good for him at all. Because he was afraid of one of the people that he had to work with. So that just made for a funny movie as well. What else can I touch on? Other than that, yeah, I think I already said this, but it was just action from beginning to end. There weren't very many scenes where it was just like stale or anything. There weren't, not very many. There weren't any scenes where it was stale. The scenes where there were no action, it was just comedic, and I think James Gunn does a good job at that. And it didn't seem, this movie still took itself very seriously, and it was way gorier than the first one. Like, they weren't kidding when they said, "Don't leave the theater because you're not going to want to miss any of the blood." They weren't kidding. I would say King Shark's kills were probably the goriest out of all of them, because at one point he actually just like rips a dude right in half, like from head to toe. So that was pretty crazy. And he ends up finding like this, when they're about to blow up the building, he ends up finding like this huge fish tank with all these little weird looking fish creatures. And then when the tank explodes, all the creatures come out, and it looks like it fills one of the floors in the building with water, and then they turn around and they start latching themselves onto him. So turns out they weren't his friends. The only friends he has is Harley Quinn and Bloodsport and Ratcatcher, because I believe they were the only ones that made it out alive, because unfortunately near the end of the movie also Rick Flag dies, which was one of the sadder deaths, but Peacemaker was just too strong for him. unfortunately, and ends up stabbing a piece of tile into his heart. So I was like, God damn it, that's not the way I wanted to see him go. I wanted to see him in another movie, but hey, at least it looks like we're going to get a brand new squad in the next movie, which I'm excited about. And there was a little end credit scene, and I was really hoping for this the entire movie. I'm like, please don't let Weasel actually be dead. And then right at the end, it shows him on the beach, and he chokes up the water and literally just runs into the forest. I'm like, yes! I need to see what he is actually capable of. So I'm looking forward to a third movie, obviously, which I hope comes probably, hopefully within like a couple years. Because, yeah, that would be awesome. I'll have to look actually on IMDb to see if they're filming another one, but James Gunn needs to stay with this project because he did a fantastic job in this movie. I would like to see him direct at least this series. Doesn't matter about the rest of them, but I think he should stick with this project because he did a really great job. And I think that's all I can touch on actually. I think I've covered everything. I don't have any criticisms of this movie. It was good from beginning to end. There was nothing bad in this movie at all. They only gave it a 7.5 out of 10 on IMDb. And this is why I never listen to critics, because it was far better than that. So, this is one of those rare movies that has to get an 11 out of 10 from me, because it was just that good. I might even go see it again in a couple weeks in the AVX Theater in Kingston, just because I really want to experience it in surround sound, because I think that would be cool. If it's still out in theaters, I imagine it will be probably for like a couple months, because I can't imagine this movie going anywhere. And I'm actually shocked that it flopped in the box office the first week. I was really surprised by that, because I thought, this was going to be like the biggest movie of the summer. But who knows? It could still bounce back. We'll see. Maybe, I know a lot of people maybe don't want to go see a movie that big on opening weekend, so they kind of avoided it, and then it just kind of lost money. But I'm hoping that it actually bounces back so they can have a third movie, because that's what we need now. Now that we have like a little bit of character development from some of them, right? And unfortunately, the character development stopped for some of them because they ended up dying, so that kind of sucks, but it is what it is. So, as always, like, share, subscribe, and comment down below your thoughts on this film, and I will, if you've seen it. If not, definitely go watch it. Also, I guess one more thing that I could touch on was the fact that the freedom fighters actually at the end killed the guy who was going to take over for Suarez. And so now they have control of the island. Again, the people do. So I guess Corto Maltese is now under the control of the people, so they have no reason. I guess presidency isn't going to be a thing anymore, maybe, or they're going to be able to have like a fair voting system over there, I suppose. So we'll see where that story actually goes. It says something here about super secret. Oh yeah, sorry, that was Task Force X is what they called them. Right, I forgot the actual name of. I was like, what is Task Force X? But yeah, it's just them, the Suicide Squad. That makes sense. Okay, so yeah, we'll see where the third movie goes, if they do actually have one, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye bye for now.